Thanks, guys. I want to kick this off by kind of level setting and just saying that obviously the last 4 years have been a challenge in retail. And there have been a number of bankruptcies, liquidations, reorganizations. So I want each of you to comment on what you're seeing work and why you're winning in your space, because you're still sitting here, where many are not anymore. And then a follow-on to that is, what have you learned from those last 4 years? And what would you do different if you could roll back the clock 4 years and do it again? So we'll start with Wally down here.
Sure. You know, the times of COVID really hit us hard. If you think about where we are in stores and people not being able to go into stores and in malls, that's a whole different conversation around shopping malls and luxury space and where people are. You know, it's really forced a significant drive to e-commerce, to the web, where in the past luxury hasn't totally been there. Right? It's been in stores and retail. So that's one big thing that has really hit us and forced us to go more to the web. I think the thing that I would have us do differently, looking back and seeing, is we could have, should have, would have gotten started much earlier on data, on quality data, and getting that right. One of the fundamentals that I go over with the business and with our organizations is you gotta have great data, you gotta have great people, and you gotta have great process. If you apply AI, any other automation, to less than quality in those areas, we're going to make mistakes faster, better, cheaper out there at record pace. So the key learning I have, and we've really started to focus on that piece, is get our data right, get people skilled at being able to use that data, and not to wait for the big data lake of everything to be out there. Take the quality that you have and use it hastily. We'll talk more about that.
Okay. For us, when COVID hit, luckily we had already provided a lot of digital tools to our beauty consultants. And they weren't honestly heavily leveraged because it's a relationship business. So it was a lot of physical one-on-one selling and selling at parties, right? So it was all face-to-face, and that was the core to our business. However, when COVID hit, luckily we did have the online tools for her to use and to sell, and they were there. And so then it really became a training, an OCM exercise of this is how you sell in this virtual world, right? So it's taking that physical one-on-one or one-on-many and bringing that online and doing it from an omni-channel perspective. And so that was what we learned, is just how much we have to train and educate our sales force in selling differently. And then the other aspect I'll share is personalization, right? In that one-to-one, that physical one-to-one, the personalization is just evident. You don't have to try to personalize. But as you bring that thought process and that mindset online, it's very hard to personalize online, but it's very significant. Everyone's expecting a level of personalization. We have IBCs in their career path, and we personalize based on where they are in that career path. Someone's just selling for friends and family versus running a business and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, right? We have to personalize differently to them. Now we're taking that and giving our IBCs tools to where they can personalize to their consumers. And so that's a big engagement for us right now.
Yeah, and finally, I think the grocery world is a little different than luxury goods and you know, personal care and beauty. COVID emptied our shelves in a day, which created a very different environment. So we were holding on for dear life and working on diversity of supply and supply chain, just simply back to basics, keeping our associates safe. Fantastic from a financial business perspective. You know, but then came hyperinflation. We're paying 25% more for groceries today than we were 4 years ago. Compound that with, for the first time in the last 40 years, the U.S. is purchasing less groceries year on year this year. So people are trading down on more expensive merchandise, chicken over beef, other choices are being made. So we're I think you were asking what would be a look back and thought. I think this seeking value, we saw it early, but not early enough, and really needed to pivot even more quickly, understand where our customers were going to be going sort of before they did. And it's the same challenge we always have, but this happened in like 3 years. Sometimes these same things happen in the financial cycles over a decade. This thing was incredibly fast, and we went from feast to back slugging it out with our competitors, probably in a more meaningful way than we ever had.
Perfect. A lot of great level setting there. Next kind of pivot I want to make is omni-channel has been around for more than 10 years. Started about 2011 or 12. So a long time with this idea of stores online and how you bring the experiences together. So it's in theory mature, but it's not. So where do you see things going with your online and store integration and presence and taking it to the next level from where you are? And what do you really want your focus to be in that area for the next 2 years? We'll just kick it back to you.
Sure, I'll run it back down. Yeah, a little bit different in grocery. 10% of online of grocery business is online today. Not quite as high in some other segments. I think we might see the mix differently. We certainly see it growing. It's frankly the fastest growing part of our business. But with 90% kind of focused on the store, we are spending most of our focus on digital personalization and AI, focused on creating behavior and introducing more parts of our store, whether that's the specialty item you didn't know you needed, whether that's a department that we know you're shopping at another retailer and we want you to try our excellent offers, to even understanding that we've got ready-to-eat meals for you, when you only have a half hour to put dinner on the table. Come on in, swing by, we compete with restaurants. So understanding and getting into our customer data and providing sort of that insight and the personalization, although personalization comes with this huge content monster. And so far, we haven't been able to solve that in a meaningful way with AI. We do lots of photo shoots, we do lots of digital creation, but that is a space that we need to look to next, because with personalization comes this extreme need for content, copy, photography, etc.
For us, omni-channel means something different. It's not about making Mary Kay omni-channel. That would be very simple, right? It's now about making 1.5+ million businesses omni-channel. It's about making her omni-channel. And so really our theme right now is about commerce everywhere. Commerce at every single digital touch point. We have a lot of digital tools. We have virtual try-on. We have skin analyzer. We have the typical e-commerce sites, personal websites. But it's around enabling commerce along all those channels for her. And that's a huge initiative for us over the next 2 years. Just as everyone purchases, right, it's that click to buy instant, right? Sit on the couch, see something, buy it, right? We're transforming that experience for her so that when she's communicating to her clientele, that click to buy is as instant as it is ordering pizza. That's what we're working on, and I think that's just key in everything. That's where we, just as consumers, expect that now out of any business, any line of business, even grocery stores, right? It's like, I want it now, I'm going to go pick it up in an hour, right? I don't want to go shop. And so I think that's important for all of us, and it's just, it's not an advantage, it's just where you need to be now.
Yeah, just to build off of those pieces. For us, that omni-channel piece, there's 2 things that come to mind that we're really focused on, and focused on learning from others in terms of what they've done. One of them is the frictionless experience. So much of the time, folks go to our sites, they love the brands, they're loyal. We have a metric that looks at the number of customers who've signed up and bought from us, and every month the goal is to grow that significantly. So we can get them to the site, we can get them to shop online versus the store. But in the past, platforms that we've had and that we've built have friction points where they're not sure where to navigate to, they abandon, something's wrong with their user ID and password, they go to check out, it's a guest versus, all the different things that, it's not sexy stuff. It's sweating the basics of getting them through to be able to do. So that frictionless experience and making that easier in our upgrade of our platforms has helped, but there's more to do. There's always a priority list of things to get to. The other piece that we've learned is where AI can help and really do a great job is taking the data that you have about the customer, their purchase activity, not just in that one experience that they're doing real time, but in their history. And as they go to check out, is what's the upsell? What is the, we've noticed that you bought this bag, right? How about the matching accessories? How about an immediate discount to be able to, based on your buying behavior, based upon the latest retail, fashions, and so forth, can we do that upsell? We've learned that from a bit of our competition, how they're leveraging that to do, and that's where you see the revenue growth. That's one of the big, I think, AI applications that use cases whereby you apply that instantly, but again, it requires that you've done the frictionless right, you've got good data about the customer, it's real time, and you've got good data that matches, right? Pricing and things are out there because I'm sure you guys have seen it. We see it all the time that in your feeds and in what Google thinks, and if they believe that you're not lining up pricing right, they'll kick out that SKU and not allow you to market it. So you got to sweat the basics of getting to the sexy stuff with AI, right? By doing the frictionless and lining up.
All right, I'm going to pivot back a little bit. Wally touched on it, store versus online, those things. We've been hearing for years that stores are dead, that they're going to go away in general and that stuff. And yet, they're still there, they continue to grow in many cases. So I want you to comment on what about your physical store strategies, business models, how is that changing, and how does it tie in to what you're doing overall? We'll go right back to you.
Sure. One of the pieces that is really key for, I think, us and in the luxury space is better enabling the people in the store who are selling, right? To have that flexibility where they're not tied to the counter, they're not tied to a keyboard, right? They're able to move around and do and so forth. And again, it's sweating some of the details within the store, right? The fashion, the luxury, the accessories are there, but how do you make that experience of being in the store so wonderful, so great, and that is not ruined by the checkout experience because things aren't up, the wireless isn't working, the technology that you've deployed to be mobile, things don't work, right? And customers get very frisky, pretty quickly with, I'm not waiting in line for 10 minutes while your pricing and checkout system and discounting and everything else, is a problem. So I think that piece that technology can bring to it, combined with, in our Michael Kors business, for example, we have new leadership, we have a brand transformation that's underway, and so matching where the business is going within what the people in the stores can do, right? That's going to unlock real earnest results. Thank you.
For us, again, right, we don't have physical stores, but our beauty consultants are essentially running their own store, right? And previously, it was an inventory business. They would buy from us, store the inventory, and be able to hand deliver it to their consumers, right? Obviously, it's still there, but it's changed. And so it's now about bringing all that online and that expectation of, even though I'm buying from a beauty consultant, I still want my cosmetics tonight, tomorrow morning, right? Delivery, just like Amazon Prime. And so we're focusing a lot around that. The other aspect I think that's really important is when you walk into a store, you see the brand, you feel the brand, right? It's tangible. Brand is more than just a logo. Dedicate's been around for 60 years. We have a strong brand, a strong culture. We're having to bring that more and more into our online presence. And so that when our beauty consultant's selling, she's selling the brand. She's using innovative tools to help her clientele, again, with skin analyzer, those types of things, right? That's all about the brand, and I think it's really important you need to have a stronger presence online with your brand than you really do in physical stores, and that's definitely a challenge.
And I guess again, on the unique end, with most of my business in stores, there's a classic adage in retail, the most important thing is location, 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 and we truly believe that. So we need to place our offer in the right community, at the right center, in the right space, and make sure that we run the store as well as we did. Luckily, this company's 70 years old, we know how to run a store. So we are super careful in site selection. It needs to be the right match of community, competitive landscape, etc. Now, it doesn't mean that this digital overlay and the things that we're doing to personalize and market and share don't matter, but we kind of see the brick side of the grocery business, at least, looking out 10 years, maybe 20, still to be very much a store basic solution. Now, we're starting to see a customer base, and it's a small group right now that will order online for pickup, primarily the center store packaged items, and then go into the store and select their meat, produce, and source deli kitchen items. So it's an emerging trend. We didn't train anyone to do it. Like we had pickup, offer, and of course we got the front door open. But customers have started to combine in unique ways the channels that we've got out there. So, but for us, I think, sort of physical and the store sort of is the center and the heart, and that we want to kind of continue to wrap the digital around.
And I think from previous discussions we had in prep, you have leveraged a partner for a lot of that stuff. So why don't you comment a little bit on that, because rather than, obviously, Wally and James are doing their own thing, you have a different model.
We do. I don't have an enormous team. We are a 27-store chain in Southern California. Certainly proud of the tech stack we have, but when it talks about e-commerce, final mile and delivery is the hardest part for grocery. Commitments are now done in hours, maybe as long as a day, but our typical order is delivered 5 hours after it's placed, and a pickup order is picked up about 4 hours after it's placed. Kind of averages, we got some outliers. So we skip next day, forget Amazon. We're like, it needs to be sort of right now. And we are an excited partner of Instacart. So we were the first to launch with Instacart in Southern California. We've been with them, 8 years, 9 years, and believe that they are a very important partner to us. I personally, along with our head of merchandising, have spent a lot of time on that relationship. And we believe, and I think Instacart would say, that we've been a good partner to them, that we punch over our weight in terms of the amount of business. We bring them opportunities and things that we'd like to see in the platform, and they've been good listeners. There's some features and platforms that are out there that were largely driven by this little grocer in Southern California. We launched on their consolidated white label, so you would go to Gelsons.com and shop with this other little, club retailer from the Northwest. We were the 2 launch partners with Instacart. So we're really proud of the time and effort that we put into that relationship. Certainly, things are changing in their world. They just launched a Uber Eats delivery where they're adding restaurant just this morning. So lots of things changing kind of in that environment. But I do think partnerships have to be a big part, especially for us medium-sized players. We just can't go alone.
And very much lower margin than the other 2 players we have.
We do fight with that.
Next question is, we have not avoided it on purpose, but we didn't talk directly about AI. There has been touches on it throughout the discussion, but my question here is, what are the key use cases that you're seeing and wanting to move forward? Is it consumer focused? Is it supply chain? Is it product and design? Is it back office? Where is it? that you are really seeing it? And then to follow on to that is, are you at the point where you're seeing results, or is it a future before you'll see those? And we'll go back a little.
Sure. Well, in addition to that checkout piece, where we're not yet there, right, versus our competition, but we're coming, and it's the prep, and now we have the platform to be able to do it. We see a couple of other areas where, again, based on really good data, we're able to take advantage of it. One of them is in that forecasting, planning, and allocation piece. And one of the things we've done is, from the data perspective, really focus on a clean, good, solid data hub and feed to that piece. We put the structure in for data for that hub. We can expand to other areas, but it's populating that first and then being in a position to turn on forecasting, planning in a non-traditional way. There are some of the larger players that are out there that have dominated that space, and we think we found a couple of different options to be able to leverage that and to therefore deliver, have the stock in the stores at the right time, the right place. So that's a great potential along with the e-commerce one. The other one, which is happening and we're using it and doing, is in the 3D world. And in 3D, there's so many advantages to doing 3D versus the waste that comes about today with samples, with building products, with doing things. It takes time, it takes manual effort, etc. Where 3D, you have the data, you put the designers there, they're able to generate 3D. It's sustainable, it's faster, it's cheaper, it's better, it's taking advantage of those the digital workplace and data to be able to do that. We just started to turn that piece on in our microcourse brand, and there is such great potential. We can see the payoff happening in terms of reduction of effort, reduction of waste.
For us at Mary Kay, speaking of partners, we're a big Salesforce.com shop, also leverage a lot of AWS. And so really we've been leaning on them and their innovation as they build AI, Einstein, your Salesforce.com person, in everything, just like Copilot and everything in Microsoft. Same premise, so we're getting value out of that. I would say from customer service agents to really the biggest win I would say is in product recommendations. And we've seen huge uplift, like literally 4 million plus a year in uplift from product recommendations across the board. So significant dollars there that we can actually trace. So we can truly trace it from site to click to purchase, right? So it's real dollars. So we've leveraged that out of our partners that we have. Other areas I would say we're focusing AI around productivity, across the board, from just employees and M365 and Copilot and dabbling in that, to smaller AI tools that we're getting a big benefit from. Like I said, we're in 25 markets, so translations is huge. Getting the text translations done from AI, it's pretty darn accurate. So get to the point where we're just reviewing content and we're a content-heavy brand. The other thing we're doing, leveraging the GenAI space, is pretty interesting. It's translations, but from a video voice perspective, being able to translate, let's just say, a marketing video about a product and translate that, let's say, to Chinese. And what's interesting about it, it's not just the overlay of the Chinese language. The GenAI will actually shape your mouth like you're talking Chinese. And so when you're saying thank you, it's shay shay as opposed to thank you, right? And so it's pretty awesome actually about that. It becomes just very localized content, and we're able to get huge efficiencies on that. So those are the areas we're touching on now. Productivity, and I think down the road we'll get into, we have like retention models and things of that nature, but really using Gen AI to be there for our consultants and have them be assistants, if you will, to our consultants as they're kind of running their business. That's in the future. We're not ready for that.
Yeah, and I guess it's fine. Like we're using native AI models for some of the marketing generation, subject, copy, etc. I think it, frankly, as I said, we can't do it. My marketing department would have done it anyway. And I think that's something we all ought to be asking ourselves too. There's what we know about and there's what's happening, and it could be two different things. But I'd say for us, primarily the more advanced use cases are through partners. So Instacart is bringing a lot of that to the customer experience today. We're working with an innovative loyalty customer platform right now that is literally scoring every one of our customers and their propensity to buy every single item in our store. A huge, massive data set that's helping us with merchandising and assortment choices and also really cool marketing choices. And there's really fun guys out there, teams that are developing innovative tech that seems to be panning out pretty well. You know, while you were talking about data and data readiness, we made a pivot about 3 years ago. We had worked with so many partners where we wanted to pilot or try something, and they wanted 5 data sets. They wanted my customer data, they wanted my item data, they wanted my sales data, promo, and price. That's what they wanted. Every time it was the same data set. So we have actually created an API that we now get to tell our partners, you will digest it the way we serve it up, which is kind of fun because usually on the retail side we're used to saying conform to the software's model. And we found that most of our partners are very excited to know that it's structured, it's QA, and it's available to them. So, you know, I think there's things we need to be doing in that readiness side to say there's new things coming and how can we plug in quick and try and test and learn.
Great, we're just about out of time, but I got one quick one to come back at, and that is, really quick, what keeps you up at night, what worries you? Sir, what wants to go?
For me, I think there's 2 things. One is just the geopolitical aspects. Again, 25 countries, end to end. There's always something going on. So, what am I going to wake up to tomorrow for a specific market? So that's one. I think the other thing is just continuing to learn and innovate and getting our teams in that learning state, becoming friendly with Gen AI and getting them to that space. We have some that are there already. You don't have to say go, they're already there. And others we're going to have to push to get there. And so those are the kind of 2 main things that keep me up at night.
Yeah, the thing that has kept me up at night, right, and I continue to work with the folks at Capri with, has not been AI, artificial intelligence, but real intelligence. And that is human talent to be able to keep going. In the news, of course, for us is been the Tapestry potential acquisition and the FTC's suit to block that piece. Keeping our folks motivated, keeping them in the game. So, you know, we're not just going to sit back and do nothing for the next few months, waiting for that. What are the growth opportunities? Again, what are those focus pieces on? Get your data in order, get these pieces right. There's plenty of opportunities to leverage these things, while especially you're not working on integration. You're working on projects, you're working on staying independent. But that's what has always worried me about having the right team and working hard at that and motivating the folks to step up to do a great job. There are great opportunities out there, but it's hard when you have not only geopolitical stuff happening, but merger, not merger. I often use the phrase, naming Stephen Wright joke, naming a dog, stay. Come here, stay. Move, do, this and that. There's plenty to do, right? And making an attractive work environment to be involved.
Yeah, real quick, I think I'd extend that. The speed of change, I think, our industry specifically, mega mergers happening, changing consumer tastes, new products, new dietary preferences. We stake our brand on having those new innovative products. How can we kind of keep up? And then I was just in a conversation with the rest of the C-suite last week, and we were talking about priorities too. And I think those two absolutely compete with each other, because I think of speed and the volume of change, yet we also have to make some determinations on these are the most important things. And I think like every business, we kind of flow and the list gets a little too long at the top priority list. And then, you know, on occasion, we got to take a step back and say, these are the non-negotiables, and here's where we're playing, here's where we're trying some things. So I think that's what keeps me awake at night, when we get that balance a little out of whack.
Perfect. Great wrap up. Thanks, everybody.